Jaina Agama Gyan. Anga Agamas. Acharanga Agama.
इमेण चेव जुज्जाहि किं ते जुज्झेण वज्झो जुद्धारिहं खलु दुर्लभं जहेत्त कुशलेहिं परिण्णाविवेगे भासिये.
Acharanga Sutra. Acharanga Agama Sastra, Book 2, 6th lecture. Begging for a bowl. Patrashayana. Search for pots. Sudharman, one of the 11 chief disciples, Ganadharas of Mahavira, compiled Acharanga Sutra, Book 1. Some are in the opinion of Acharanga Sutra, Book 2 is scripted by a Stavir. The title of the 6th chapter is Patrashayana. A Stavir Kalpi, an ascetic who still has mundane needs, requires pots to get faultless food and water. But what type, specification, and prices of pots may he have? He should avoid faults related to exploring, like those of origin and those related to use, like those of fire and smoke caused by attachment. All these topics have been discussed in this chapter titled Patrashayana. There are two types of pot: Dravya Patra, physical container, and Bhava Patra, mental container. The Bhava Patra is the ascetic himself. For pursuing life of ascetic discipline, he begs for Dravya Patra. This chapter has two lessons. The first lesson deals with acquiring pots, and the second deals with their use. First lesson. A monk or a nun wanting to get a bowl may beg for one made of bottle gourd or wood or clay or such like bowls. If he be a youthful young monk, he may carry with him one bowl, not two. A monk or a nun should not resolve to go farther than half a yojana to get a bowl. As regards the acceptance of a bowl, those 4 precepts which have been given in begging of food concerning one fellow ascetic should be repeated here. The 5th is that concerning many Sramans and Brahmanas. A monk or a nun should not accept a bowl which the layman has for the mendicant's sake. What? Types and limitations of pot. In Sutra 243, it is said, where a disciplined bhikshu or bhikshuni wants to explore for pots, he should first know this about pots: gourd pot, wooden pot, and earthen pot. He can accept these 3 types of pot. An ascetic who is young, strong, healthy, and sturdy constitution should have only one pot, not more. This aphorism prescribes 3 types of pots for ascetics, but in the last portion it says if the ascetic is young and strong, he should not have only one pot but not more. The commentator Vritti has clarified that this rule could be for a Janakalpi Shraman or one with special resolves. For a Stavir Kalpi, there is a provision of 3 pots. Whereas Bhagwan Mahavir has made provision of wooden, earthen, and gourd pot for Shramans in the codes, the Buddha has made provision of iron and earthen pots, denying wooden pot. From an incident mentioned in Vinaya Patika, it is revealed that earlier Buddhist monks used earthen pot also, but when a particular incident it was prescribed. The incident is that once a merchant in Rajagriha got a beautiful and expensive pot made of sandalwood. He hung that pot high to one end of a long and standing bamboo and made an announcement. The Shraman, Brahmin, or other sage who has some special powers may get it down and take it. At that time, 2 Buddhist monks, Maudgalyan and Pindol Bharadwaj, came to seek alms in Rajagriha. Pindol Bharadwaj flew in the sky, took the pot, and went around Rajagriha 3 times. Impressed by this performance, many people hailed the act and came to the Buddha. When the Buddha heard the story, he was deeply hurt. He called Bharadwaj and reprimanded him before the assembly of monks. Bharadwaj, this is wrong. This is not appropriate for a monk. How could you demonstrate your special powers to householders for a mere wooden pot? The Buddha then ordered the religious organization to break the pot into pieces and give the pieces to monks to grind into powder. Addressing the monks in this context, he said, a monk should not keep a golden, silver, gem-studded, bronze, crystal, glass, copper, and lead pot. Monks, I allow you to keep only 2, iron and earthen pots. A monk or a nun should not accept any very expensive bowls of the following description: bowls made of iron, tin, lead, silver, gold, brass, a mixture of gold, silver and copper, pearl, glass, mother of pearl, horn, ivory, cloth, stone, or leather. For such very expensive bowls are impure and unacceptable. Censure of pots with faults. Sutra 245. A bhikshu or bhikshuni should find if some devout householder has got pots made by a process involving violence to prani, beings, bhoot, organisms, jiva, souls, and sattva entities, especially with the purpose of giving it to some co-religionist ascetic. If it is so, he should not take it. As this aphorism is for one male ascetic, so it should be taken as 3 aphorisms for many co-religionist male ascetics, 1 female ascetic and many female ascetics. The 4 codes mentioned in Pindashashana chapter should be repeated here. The 5th code regarding giving to many Buddhist monks, Brahmins, after counting should also be repeated here as in the said chapter. A monk or a nun should not accept bowls which contain a band of the same precious material specialized. Sutra 246. A bhikshu or bhikshuni should find if some devout householder has got pots made with an intention to give to many ascetics, Buddhist monks, Brahmins, and it involves faults like Audashik. The rest of the details should be read as a Vastrashayana chapter. For the avoidance of these occasions to sin, there are 4 rules for begging a bowl, to be known by the mendicant. Now this is the first rule. A monk or a nun may beg for a bowl specifying its quality, bottle gourd or wood or clay. If they beg for such a bowl or the householder gives it, they may accept it, for it is pure and acceptable. This is the first rule. Censure of expensive pots. 247. A disciplined bhikshu or bhikshuni should know about various highly expensive pots such as iron pots, water or tin plated pots, copper pots, lead pots, silver pots, gold pots, brass pots, pots of an alloy of 3 metals, pots made of gems, glass or bronze, pots made of shell, horn and ivory, pots made of cloth, and pots made of stone or leather. An ascetic should not accept these and other such highly expensive pots, considering them to be faulty and unacceptable. Now follow the second rule. A monk or a nun may ask for a bowl which they have well inspected from the householder or his wife. After consideration, they should say, "O long-lived one, please give me one of these bowls, one made of bottle gourd or wood or clay." If they beg for such a bowl or the householder gives it, they may accept it. But this is the second rule. Sutra 248. A disciplined bhikshu or bhikshuni should also know about pots that are acceptable like wooden, adorned with various expensive straps or strings, such as those made of iron, gold, leather, an ascetic should not accept pots with these and other such highly expensive scraps, considering them to be faulty and unacceptable. Now follows the third rule. A monk or a nun may beg for a bowl which has been used by the former owner or by many people. If they beg for it, this is the third rule. In these two aphorisms, there is a censure of accepting beautiful pots made of expensive material and involving harm to beings, as also ordinary pots of acceptable material like wood, but adorned with scraps of gold or silver. According to the commentator Vritti, the possible reasons for the censure are being expensive, there always is a fear of theft or snatching. Ascetics should develop fondness and craving for such expensive pots, as also the tendency to hoard these. Ascetics should develop a tendency to trade or exchange these. Ascetics will have to approach affluent people and praise or pester them to get such pots. There are chances that ascetics may develop fondness for such pots and aversion for simple or ordinary pots. The process of making and repairing such pots involves harm to many beings. In order to make pots of shell, ivory, leather, related animals could be killed. Keeping such pots entails jealousy and envy with co-religionists, and also a feeling of refusing to allow others the use of such pots. In Nishit Sutra, it is mentioned that the ascetics who make such pots or approve making of same have to atone for the act. The technical term Champapayani, a pot or a pouch made of leather. Chelapayani, a bag or bag-like pot made of cotton. Haraput, an iron pot with pearl-studded floral patterns. Seeking pots, approved. An ascetic takes pots to beg for food and water. They can be of three kinds, made of wood, gourd, or earthen pots. Censured, an ascetic is not allowed to take pots that are very costly, such as wooden pots with gold and silver work, pots made of glass, conch shell, horn, or ivory, with or without artistic work, and pots made of metals like gold, silver, copper, brass. Technical terms. And now follow the fourth rule. A monk or a nun may beg for a left-off bowl which no other Shramana or Brahmana, guest, pauper, or beggar wants. If they beg for it, this is the fourth rule. A monk or a nun having adopted one of these four rules should not say we respect each other accordingly. 4 pratimas for acquiring pots. Sutra 249. Besides avoiding the said faults related to acquisition of pots, an ascetic should also observe 4 pratimas. First pratima. A bhikshu or bhikshuni should seek the pot he has resolved for. For instance, he should resolve in advance to seek one of the said pots of types of pots such as gourd pot, wooden pot, or earthen pot. He should then specifically beg for that type of pot or take it, if offered by a householder on his own, considering it to be faultless and acceptable. This is the first pratima. Second pratima. A bhikshu or bhikshuni should first find if the householder has the pot and then beg for it from the host. Long-lived householder, would you please give one of these pots, such as gourd pot, wooden pot, or earthen pot, to me? He should then specifically beg for that type of pot or take it, if offered by a householder on his own, considering it to be faultless and acceptable. This is the second pratima. Third pratima. A bhikshu or bhikshuni should find about old pots, such as those in which the householder has eaten or kept some food. He should then specifically beg for type the type of pot or taket if offered by a householder, on his own considering it to be faultless and acceptable. This is the third pratima. Fourth pratima, a bhikshu or bhikshuni should seek a pot worth discarding or which is rejected by many other Buddhist monks, or take it if offered by a householder on his own considering it to be faultless and acceptable. This is the fourth pratima. The details about these four pratimas should be taken as those mentioned in the Pindashayana chapter. Meanings of Shangayam and Vijayantiyam. According to the commentator Churni, Sangayam, a householder generally uses 2 or 3 pots one after another. When an ascetic begs for a pot, he gives one of these. There is no fault involved in taking such used pot. Vijayantiyam, the pot in which food is placed after roasting on the occasion of some royal festival or ceremony. According to the commentator Vritti, Sangayam, a pot in which the donor often eats. Vijayantiyam, a pot out of 2-3 pots in which food is eaten one after another. A householder may perhaps say to a mendicant begging in the prescribed way, O long-lived Shraman, return after a month. Censure of pots involving various faults. Sutra 250. If some householder tells to an ascetic exploring for pots, long-lived Shraman, please go now and come after a month, 10 or 5 days, tomorrow or the day after, the rest of the details should be read as a Vastrashayana chapter. The householder may say to one of his people, O long-lived one or sister, fetch that bowl, rub it with oil, ghee, fresh butter or marrow, we shall give it. Or wash, wipe or rub it with perfumes, wash it with cold or hot water, or empty it of the bulbs. Sutra 251. On seeing an ascetic searching for pots, if a householder tells to some member of the family, long-lived brother or sister, please fetch that pot, I will apply butter of fat on it and give it to the ascetic. I will wash it with uncontaminated cold or hot water once. I will take out the bulbous roots. The rest of the details should be read as in Vastrashayana chapter, the only change being pot for clothes. The householder may say to the mendicant, O long-lived Shraman, stay a while till they have cooked or prepared our food. Then we shall give you. O long-lived one, your alms bowl filled with food or drink. It is not good, not meet, that a mendicant should get an empty alms bowl. After consideration, the mendicant should answer, O long-lived one, it is indeed not meet for me to eat or drink food, which is adharmika. Do not cook or prepare it. If you want to give me anything, give it as it is. After these words, the householder might offer him the alms bowl filled with food or drink which had been cooked or prepared. He should not accept such an alms bowl, for it is impure and unacceptable. The Sutra 252. When some householder says to the ascetic, long-lived Shraman, please wait for some time while I arrange for or prepare 4 types of food. After that I will give the pot filled with food and water, because it is not good or proper to give an empty pot to an ascetic. On hearing these words, the ascetic should at once tell, long-lived householder or sister, I am not allowed to eat or drink adharmi food. Please do not arrange for prepared food. If you want to give, please give the pot as it is. Even after this warning by the ascetic, if the householder proceeds to arrange for or prepare 4 types of food and offers a pot filled with food and water, the ascetic should refuse to take it, considering it to be a faulty and unacceptable. Like exploration for clothes, 6 types of censure have also been mentioned regarding exploration of pots. The householder tells the ascetic to come after some time to take a pot. He gives a pot after applying oil, butter, or other such oily substance. He gives after rubbing some fragrant substance. He gives after washing it with cold or hot uncontaminated water. He gives after taking out vegetables from the pot, gets food cooked, and wants to fill the pot before giving. In all these conditions, the pot is considered to be faulty and unacceptable. Perhaps the householder will bring and give the mendicant an alms bowl. The mendicant should then, after consideration, say, "O long-lived one, I shall in your presence closely inspect the interior of the bowl." The Kavalan says this is the reason in the alms bowl there might be living beings or seeds or grass. Hence it has been said to the mendicant that he should closely inspect the interior of the alms bowl. Inspecting the pots. Sutra 253. If the donor, avoiding the said acts, brings the pot and offers to the ascetic, he should at once tell long-lived brother or sister, "I will inspect this pot properly because the Omniscient has said that to take a pot without inspection is a cause of bondage of karmas." There is a chance that some living beings, seeds, or green vegetables are in the pot. Therefore, Tirthankaras and other sages have given instructions that ascetics should carefully inspect pots before accepting. All that has been said in the lecture called Begging of Clothes is mutatis mutandis to be repeated here, with oil, ghee, butter, or marrow. This is the whole duty, thus I say. Sutra 254. A bhikshu or bhikshuni should not accept if a pot is infested with insect eggs. The rest of the details should be read as a Vastrashayana chapter. The only change being that if only oil, substance, or fragrant things have been applied to the pot, the ascetic should find and clean an uncontaminated spot, clean the pot carefully, and dry it in sun. The rest of the details should be read as in Vastra Ashayana chapter. This is the totality of conduct, including that related to knowledge for the bhikshu or bhikshuni, and so should he pursue. So I say.
यदक्षरपदभ्रष्टं मात्राहीनं च यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देव महावीर नमोऽस्तु ते।
Jaina Agama Gyan. Anga Agamas. Acharanga Agama.
इमेण चैव जुज्जाहि किं ते जुज्झेण वज्झो जुद्धारिहं खलु दुर्लभं यहेत्त कुशलेहिं परिण्णाविवेगे भासिये।
Acharanga Sutra. Acharanga Agama Sastra, Book 2, 6th lecture. Begging for a bowl. Patrashayana. Search for pots. Sudharman, one of the 11 chief disciples, Ganadharas of Mahavira, compiled Acharanga Sutra, Book 1. Some are in the opinion of Acharanga Sutra, Book 2 is scripted by a Stavir. Second lesson. A monk or a nun entering the abode of a householder for the sake of alms should, after examining their alms bowl, taking out any living beings and wiping off the dust, circumspectly enter or leave the householder's abode. The Kavalan says this is the reason living beings, seeds, or dust might fall into his bowl. Hence it has been said to the mendicant that he should, after examining his alms bowl, taking out any living beings, circumspectly enter or leave the householder's abode. Inspecting and cleaning pots. Sutra 255. A bhikshu or bhikshuni should carefully inspect his pot before going to the house of a layman for alms. If there is some being within, it should be removed and any dirt should be wiped off. After this, the ascetic should come out of the upashraya and enter the house. The Omniscient has said that not to inspect a pot is a cause of bondage of karmas. There is a chance that some two-sensed living beings, seeds or green vegetables, are in the pot, and in absence of careful inspection, they may come to harm. Therefore, Tirthankaras and other sages have given instructions that ascetics should properly inspect pots before going out to collect alms. If he finds some being within, he should take it out and leave it at some safe place. He should wipe the pot clean of any dirt and then only come out of the upashraya and enter the house of a layman. Elaboration. This aphorism informs that it is essential to carefully inspect and clean a pot before setting out to collect alms. Not doing so is harmful to the self as well as other beings. The commentator Vritti informs that there are chances of many other faults besides these. For example, if the pot is broken, it is of no use for carrying food or water. The collected food would trickle or fall out. Some antagonist could have furtively placed some weapon, poison, or other unwanted, unacceptable thing out of animosity. Some poisonous creature like snake or scorpion may have crept in and be hiding in the pot. While taking alms, it might bite all of a sudden. Also, when hot food or water is poured in such pot, such creature would be killed besides the eatable becoming toxic. If some sore thing is sticking inside the pot, it would spoil things like milk. Therefore, it is good from every angle to inspect and clean a pot before entering the house of a layman for collecting alms as well as eating. On such an occasion, the householder might perhaps, going in the house, fill the alms bowl with cold water and returning after it, should not accept such an alms bowl either in the householder's hand or his vessel, for it is impure and unacceptable. Procedure of drying the pot. 256. When a bhikshu or bhikshuni goes to the house of a layman to seek water, and inside the room the householder fills another pot with such water before coming out and offering to the ascetic, he should not accept such water carried by hand in other pot, considering it to be faulty and unacceptable. In case the ascetic has inadvertently taken that water in his pot, he should at once pour it back in the donor's pot. If the donor refuses to take the water back, the ascetic should carry the pot containing water to a place with wet ground or other suitable place and discard the water following the prescribed procedure. He should place the wet pot at a secluded place. Perhaps he has inadvertently accepted it, then he should empty it again in water pot, or he should put down the bowl and the water somewhere, or empty it in some wet place. A bhikshu or bhikshuni should neither wipe nor dry in sun the pot as long as it is damp or dripping wet, said in Sutra 257. When he knows that it is neither dripping nor wet, he may carefully wipe it or dry it in sun. Elaboration. These aphorisms discuss Sachit, water, whereas the topic of the chapter, Patrashayana, is seeking pots. The commentator Churni says, if a householder gives a pot after taking out Sachit, water stored in it, the ascetic should not take such pot that is wet with Sachit water. But keeping the view of the commentator Vritti in mind, Acharya Sri Atmaramji believes these aphorisms to be related to Sachit water. When an ascetic wants water, a householder may give Sachit water for 4 possible reasons: unknowingly or inadvertently, due to antagonism, and with an intention to put the ascetic to infamy. With a feeling of compassion for the ascetic, with some other idea, in all such cases, the ascetic should be careful not to accept Sachit water. A monk or a nun should not wipe or rub a wet or moist alms bowl, but when they perceive that on their alms bowl the water has dried up and the moisture is gone, then they may circumspectly wipe or rub it. A monk or a nun wanting to enter the abode of a householder should enter or leave it for the sake of alms with their bowl, also on going to the out of door place for religious practices or study, or on wandering from village to village. If a strong and widely spread rain pours down, they should take the same care of their alms bowl as is prescribed for clothes. This is the whole duty. Thus I say, while moving about. 258 Sutra. When a bhikshu or bhikshuni goes to the house of a layman, he should enter the house with his pot. In the same way, he should always carry his pots with him while going away from habitation for studies or nature's call, or going from one village to another. If there is a widespread rain and other such conditions, the rules mentioned in the Vastrayashayana chapter should be followed. The only difference being that there carrying all his clothes is censured, and here carrying all his pots is censured. This is the totality of conduct for that bhikshu or bhikshuni, and so should pursue. So I say. End of the 6th lecture, called Begging for a Bowl.
यदक्षरपदभ्रष्टं मात्राहीनं च यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देव महावीर नमोऽस्तु ते।
Jaina Agama Gyan. Anga Agamas, Acharanga Agama.
इमेण चैव जुज्जाहि किं ते जुज्झेण वज्झो जुद्धारिहं खलु दुर्लभं यहेत्त कुशलेहिं परिन्नाविवेगे भासिये।
Acharanga Sutra, Acharanga Agama Shastra, Book 2, 7th lecture, Regulation of Possession. Avagraha Pratima, Regulation of Possessions. Sudharman, one of the 11 chief disciples of Ganadhara of Mahavira, compiled Acharanga Sutra Book 1. Some are in the opinion of Acharanga Sutra Book 2 is scripted by a Staver. The name of the 7th chapter is Avagraha Pratima. Avagraha means to take or accept. The term Avagraha or Ugaha has many different meanings in different contexts. Some are general information received through sense organ, concept addition, pot, a specific equipment meant for female ascetics, acceptable thing, house, place of stay, to get permission to stay at a particular place. Exploring for pots is discussed in the 6th chapter. An ascetic takes pots and all other equipment with the permission of a householder because he has taken the vow of not stealing or not taking anything without being given. The main topic discussed in this chapter is accepting a place. The commentator informs that Graha is of 4 types based on matter, area, time, and attitude. Also, there are 5 types of resolution, including Devendra Avagraha, mentioned in the last aphorism of this chapter. In this chapter, the term Avagraha has been used mainly to convey 4 meanings: to take with permission, an acceptable thing; to seek permission from the owners or guardians of various things; to use those things when needed; and a place of stay or a limited area of land. This chapter has 2 lessons. The first is about place and the second about the discipline to be observed by an ascetic while living at a place. First lesson: I shall become a Shraman who owns no house, no property, no sons, no cattle, who eats what others give him. I shall commit no sinful action. Master, I renounce to accept anything that has not been given. Having taken such oaths, a mendicant should not, on entering a village or scot-free town, take himself or induce others to take or allow others to take what has not been given. A mendicant should not take or appropriate any property, an umbrella or vessel or stick of those monks together with whom he stays, without getting their permission and without having inspected and wiped, but having got their permission and having inspected and wiped, he may take or appropriate it. Essentiality of accepting things. 259. When a person gets initiated as a Shraman, he takes a vow: now I will become a Shraman. I will become an Anagar, own no house, Akinchan, Aputra, Apausha, and Paradhat Bhoji, means not own a house or own possessions or own no son and family or relations or own no cattle and other bipeds and quadrupeds or eat what others give, and will not indulge in any sinful activity including violence. Prepared thus to observe ascetic discipline, O Bhante, I renounce Adantadan to accept anything which is not given to me. Taking this vow of Adadan, that ascetic on entering a village or city should not accept anything not given to him, neither should he cause others to do so, nor approve others doing so. That ascetic should also not take umbrella, stick, pots, nail cutters, and other such equipment belonging to other ascetics with whom he got initiated, or moves about without seeking their permission. Inspecting and cleaning, before taking, he should first take permission from them and then inspect and clean that thing. Elaboration. This aphorism informs about 3 attributes of ascetics. He is without any possession, he begs alms to eat, he does not take anything without being given. Therefore, wherever he goes and with whichever ascetic he lives, whatever thing he requires, including food, water, medicine, place of stay, cloth, pots, and other equipment, first of all, it is essential that he seeks permission from the owner or the guardian of that particular thing. Even if he wants to take a thing from a co-religionist ascetic, he should first take permission. Here, chatra generally means the woolen blanket used to cover head when it rains. However, a sthaver, kalpi ascetic may also use an umbrella under special circumstances. For example, if there are excessive rains in certain area, he may keep an umbrella with him in order to avoid harm to water-bodied beings. According to Acharya Sri Atmaramji, Chhatra means both an umbrella and a woolen blanket. Charmachedi is used to cut nails and it is borrowed with a condition to return. An ascetic cannot keep a charmachedani or other metal things overnight with him. Keeping a staff is also allowed while walking on slimy ground or in old age. The commentator Churni specifies the difference between the meanings of Ogni H and Pagine H. To take once is Ogni H and to take again and again is Pagini H. He may beg for a domicile in a traveller's hall, having reflected on its fitness for a stay. He should ask permission to take possession of it from him who is the landlord or the steward of that place. Indeed, O long-lived one, for the time and in the space which you concede us, we shall dwell here. We shall take possession of the place for as long as time as the place belongs to you, and of as much of it as belongs to you, for as many fellow ascetics as shall stand in need of it. Afterwards we shall take a wandering. Various forms of begging. 260. Going into an upashraya house, a bhikshu or bhikshuni should carefully inspect a place suitable for ascetics and then seek permission to stay there. Seeking permission to stay from the owner or manager of that place, he should say, long-lived one, we will only stay for the specific period in the specific area permitted by you. Other co-religionist ascetics coming here will also stay only for the specific period in the specific area permitted by you. After that period, we all will leave this place. Having got possession of some place, a mendicant should invite to that food which he himself has collected any fellow ascetics arriving there who follow the same rules and are zealous brethren. But he should not invite them to anything of which he has taken permission for the sake of somebody else. Dealing with conformist ascetic. Sutra 261. After occupying the place with due permission, if some other co-religionist, some Bhogik and Samanojana ascetics come there as guests, the ascetic already staying there should invite those guest ascetics to share the food brought after due exploration by his own self, but he should not invite them to share food brought by some other ascetic or that brought specifically for other sick ascetic. Having got possession of some place in a traveller's hall, a mendicant should offer a footstool or bench or bed or couch which he himself has begged to any fellow ascetics arriving there who follow other rules than he, yet are zealous brethren, but he should not offer them anything of which he has taken possession for the sake of somebody else. Dealing with non-conformist ascetic. Sutra 262. After occupying the place with due permission, if some other co-religionist, some Bhogik and some Nojana ascetics come there as guests, the ascetic already staying there should invite those guest ascetics to share the stool, plank, bed brought after due exploration by his own self, but he should not invite them to share the stool, plank, bed brought by some other ascetic or that brought specifically for other sick or disabled ascetic. Having got possession of some place in a traveller's hall, a mendicant might ask from a householder or his sons the loan of a needle or a pipalaka or an ear picker or a nail parer. He should not give or lend it to somebody else, but having done that for which he wanted one of the above articles, he should go with that article there where the householder is, and stretching out his hands or laying the article on the ground, he should, after considering, say, here it is, but he should not with his own hand put it in the hands of a householder. Sutra 263. When an ascetic staying at a dharmashala borrows for his specific needs a needle, scissors, ear cleaner, nail cutter, he should not give it to another ascetic. Instead, he should go to the householder and, extending his hand, place those things on the ground and tell to the householder, here is this thing and that thing, please check it and take it back. But an ascetic should not place these things with his own hands in the hands of the householder. Elaboration. Difference between sadharmic, sambhogic and samanojna. The ascetics who believe in same religion, same deity and with almost similar garb are called sadharmic. Sambhogic means having same belief, conduct and indulgences, and samanojna means conformists who are not lax in conduct and belief. According to the course prescribed in scriptures, the exchange of food and formal greetings with sadharmic, sambhogic and samanojna ascetics is allowed. However, with sambhogic, not having same indulgences, ascetics, exchange of only bed and other such equipment is allowed. If there is some sambhogic ascetic adhering to different but good conduct, he should also be offered bed and other equipment brought by the host ascetic himself. In this context, Acharya Sri Atmaramji has given the example of Keshikumar Sraman, the disciple of Bhagwan Parshvanath, and Gautam Swami, the disciple of Bhagwan Mahavir. He adds that although these two were not following the same code of indulgence and praxis, still when Gautam Swami came to the place of stay of Keshi Swami, the later, in spite of being senior, greeted Gautam Swami and requested him to accept faultless bed seat. This confirms that an asambhogic ascetic with good conduct should also be offered bed with due respect. A monk or a nun should not take possession of anything on the bare ground, on wet ground, where there are eggs, nor on pillars or such an above ground place, nor on a wall, nor on the trunk of a tree, nor where the householder or fire or water or women or children or cattle are, and where it is not fit for a wise man to enter or to leave, not to meditate on the law, nor where they have to pass through the householder's abode, or to which there is no road, and where it is not fit, nor where the householder or his wife bully or scold each other, nor where they rub or anoint each other's body with oil or ghee, or butter or grease, nor where they take a bath, nor where they go about naked. This is the whole duty, thus I say. Prohibited places. Sutra 264. A disciplined bhikshu or bhikshuni should find if a place is sachit, damp. If it is so, he should not seek permission and stay there. Sutra 265. A disciplined bhikshu or bhikshuni should find if a place is very high from the ground level, resting on some pillar or some other such thing, not properly secured or difficult to approach, or unstable and swaying. If it is so, he should not seek permission and stay there. Sutra 266. A disciplined bhikshu or bhikshuni should find if a place is located on a slim and weak wall or at a high and unapproachable spot on river bank. If it is so, he should not seek permission and stay there. Sutra 267. A disciplined bhikshu or bhikshuni should find if a place is located on a pillar, scaffold, upper story, palace or cellar. If it is so, he should not seek permission and stay at such unstable and unsecured place. Sutra 268. A disciplined bhikshu or bhikshuni should find if a place is crowded with householders, has water and fire in it, where women, children or yonchas live, which has animals and also filled with food or for them. A wise ascetic should not stay at such place. He should also avoid a place with an approach that is not suitable for discourse, meditation and other such ascetic activities. Sutra 269. A disciplined bhikshu or bhikshuni should find if a place has access through a householder's residence or adjacent to it. For a wise ascetic, it is not proper to enter or come out or meditate or do other ascetic activities at such place. He should avoid accepting such place. Sutra 270. A bhikshu or bhikshuni should find if the owner, his wife, servants of the available upashriya abuse or beats each other or create disturbance, rub or apply oil, butter on each other's body, sprinkle or pour cold or hot water on each other's body and wash or bathe each other's body with cold or hot water and stand or sit naked. Detailed description of these should be taken from aphorisms of Shaya Shaina chapter. There the description is about bed and here it is about place of stay. If it is so, a wise ascetic should not stay at any such place. Sutra 271. A bhikshu or bhikshuni should find if the available upashriya is decorated with painted or engraved erotic paintings. If it is so, a wise ascetic should not stay once or repeatedly at such place. Such a place is not considered suitable for his stay. Detailed description of these should be taken from aphorism 118 of Shaina chapter. This is the totality of conduct for that bhikshu or bhikshuni, and so should he pursue. So I say.
यदक्षरपदभ्रष्टं मात्राहीनं च यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देव महावीर नमोऽस्तु ते.
Jaina Agama Gyan. Anga Agamas, Acharanga Agama.
इमेण चैव जुज्जाहि किं ते जुज्झेण वज्झो जुद्धारिहं खलु दुर्लभं जहेत्त कुशलेहिं परिण्णाविवेगे भासिये.
Acharanga Sutra, Acharanga Agama Shastra, Book 2, 7th lecture, Regulation of Possession. Avagraha Pratima, Regulation of Possessions. Sudharman, one of the 11 chief disciples of Ganadhara of Mahavira, compiled Acharanga Sutra Book 1. Some are in the opinion of Acharanga Sutra Book 2 is scripted by a Staver. Second lesson. He may beg for a domicile in a traveller's hall. Having reflected, he should ask permission to take possession of it from the landlord or the steward of that place. Indeed, O long-lived one, for the time and in the space you concede us, we shall dwell here. Now that further after the place is taken possession, he should not remove from without to within or vice versa. Any umbrella or stick belonging to Sramanas or Brahmanas, nor should he wake up a sleeping person, nor offend or molest the inmates. Prudence about an accepted place. Sutra 272. Going into an upashriya house, a bhikshu or bhikshuni should carefully inspect a place suitable for ascetics and then seek permission to stay there. Seeking permission to stay from the owner or manager of that place, he should say, "Long lived one, we will only stay for the specific period in the specific area permitted by you." Other co-religionist ascetics coming here will also stay only for the specific period in the specific area permitted by you. After that period, we all will leave this place. A monk or a nun might wish to go to a mango park. They should then ask the landlords or stewards permission. Now, what further after the place is taken possession of? Then they might desire to eat a mango. If the monk or the nun perceive that the mango is covered with eggs, living beings, they should not take it, for it is impure. Sutra 273. After getting permission to stay at the place, the ascetic should take care not to put out or bring in staff, umbrella, nail cutter, and other equipment belonging to Buddhist monks, Brahmins. If lying there, he should also not awake any Shraman or Brahmin sleeping there. He should not in any way behave unpleasantly with them so as to hurt their feelings. If the monk or the nun perceive that the mango is free from eggs, living beings, but not nibbled at by animals nor injured, they should not take it, for it is impure. But if they perceive that the mango is free from eggs, living beings, and is nibbled at by animals and injured, then they may take it, for it is pure. Taking things like mango. 274 Sutra. If a bhikshu or bhikshuni wants to stay in a mango orchard, he should seek permission to stay there from the owner or manager of that place, saying, "Long lived one, we will only stay for the specific period in the specific area in the orchard permitted by you." Other co-religionist ascetics coming here will also stay only for the specific period in the specific area permitted by you. After that period, we all will leave this place. After seeking permission and staying there, if the ascetic wants to eat mangoes or drink mango juice, he should find if the mangoes there are infested with eggs. If so, he should not eat, considering them to be faulty and unacceptable. The monk might wish to eat or suck one half of a mango or a mango peel or rind or sap or smaller particles. If the monk or the nun perceive that the above enumerated things are covered with eggs or living beings, they should not take them, for they are impure, but they may take them if they are free from eggs and nibbed by animals or injured. 275. If the ascetic finds that the mangoes are not infested with eggs, but are neither sliced nor cut into pieces, he should not take, considering them to be faulty and unacceptable. A monk or a nun might wish to go to a sugarcane plantation. They should ask permission in the manner described above. The monk or the nun might wish to chew or suck sugarcane. In that case, the same rules as for eating mango apply also. Likewise, if they wish to chew or to suck the sugar cane's pulp, fibers, sap, or smaller particles. Sutra 276. If the ascetic finds that the mangoes are not infested with eggs or cobwebs and are also sliced and cut into pieces, he may take them, considering them to be faultless and acceptable. A monk or a nun might wish to go to a garlic field. They should ask permission in the manner described above. The monk or the nun might wish to chew or suck garlic. In that case, the same rules as for eating mangoes apply also. Likewise, if they wish to chew or suck the bulb or peel or stalk or seed of garlic. Sutra 277. If the ascetic wants to eat one half, a quarter, skin, kernel, or small pieces of a mango, or suck the mango, he should find if these are infested with eggs. If so, he should not eat, considering them to be faulty and unacceptable. A monk or a nun having got possession of a place in a traveller's hall should avoid all occasions to sin. The householders are their sons and should occupy that place according to the following rules. Sutra 278. If the ascetic finds that the said parts of a mango are not infested with eggs, but are neither sliced nor cut into pieces, he should not take, considering to be faulty and unacceptable. Now this is the first rule. He may beg for a domicile in a traveller's hall, having reflected. This is the first rule. Sutra 279. If the ascetic finds that the said parts of a mango are not infested with eggs and are also sliced and cut into pieces, he may take them, considering them to be faultless and acceptable. Now follow the second rule. A monk resolves, I shall ask for possession of a dwelling place for the sake of other mendicants, and having taken possession of it for their sake I shall use it. And this is the second rule. In the Sutra 290, if a bhikshu or a bhikshuni wants to stay in a sugarcane farm, he should seek permission to stay there from the owner or manager of that place, duly specifying the period and area. While staying there, if the ascetic wants to sugarcane or drink sugarcane juice, he should find if the sugarcane there are infested with eggs. If so, he should not take, considering them to be faulty and unacceptable. If they are not infested with eggs, but are neither sliced nor cut into pieces, he should not take, considering them to be faulty and unacceptable. If the ascetic finds that the sugarcane are not infested with eggs and are also sliced and cut into pieces, he may take them, considering them to be faultless and acceptable. Details should be taken as mentioned with reference to mangoes. Now follows the third rule. A monk resolves, I shall ask for possession of a dwelling place for the sake of other mendicants, and having taken possession of it for their sake, I shall not use it. This is the third rule. Sutra 281. If the ascetic wants to eat the middle portion, slices, skin, pith or small pieces of sugarcane, or suck the sugarcane, he should find if these are infested with eggs. If so, he should not eat, considering them to be faulty and unacceptable. Now follows the fourth rule. A monk resolves, I shall not ask for possession of a dwelling place for the sake of other mendicants, but if the dwelling place has already been ceded to them, I shall use it. This is the fourth rule. In the Sutra 282, if the ascetic finds that the said parts of a sugarcane are not infested with eggs, but are neither sliced nor cut into pieces, he should not take, considering them to be faulty and unacceptable. If he finds that the said parts of a sugarcane are not infested with eggs and are also sliced and cut into pieces, he may take them, considering them to be faultless and acceptable. Now follows the fifth rule. A monk resolves, I shall ask for possession of a dwelling place for my own sake, not for 2, 3, 4 or 5 persons. This is the fifth rule. Procedure accepting garlic. Sutra 283. If a bhikshu or bhikshuni wants to stay in a garlic farm, he should seek permission to stay there from the owner or a manager of that place, duly specifying the period and area. If he wants to eat garlic, he should follow the procedure mentioned above and eat if they are not infested with eggs and are also sliced and cut into pieces. The 3 rules should be taken as mentioned earlier. If the ascetic wants to eat garlic or its pulp, peel, stalk or seed, or suck its juice, he should follow the procedure mentioned in context of mango. If he finds it to be faultless, unacceptable and mentioned earlier, he may take. The details mentioned in aphorism 274 to 283 regarding staying in mango orchard, sugarcane or garlic farm and eating these things are from a relative viewpoint. The commentator Churni writes in this context, it is necessary for an ascetic to discern between acceptable and not acceptable when he wants to eat things like mango. If according to the ascetic code they are not contaminated and are sliced, he can eat, otherwise not. The chapter 15 of Nishita Sutra, there is a procedure of doing the Chaturmasik atonement if one eats sachit mango or sugarcane. As regards garlic, the commentator Churnivritti says that it is allowed only in ailing condition, otherwise not. Now follows the sixth rule. If a monk or a nun occupying a dwelling place in which there is ikkada reed get this thing, then they may use it, otherwise they should remain in a squatting or sitting posture. This is the sixth rule. Now follows the seventh rule. A monk or a nun may beg for a dwelling place paved with clay or wooden. If they get it, then they may use it. Otherwise, they should remain in a squatting or sitting posture. This is the seventh rule. One who has adopted one of these 7 rules should not say, I have heard the following explanation by the Venerable Mahavira. The Sthaviras and the Venerable Ones have declared that dominion is fivefold. The Lord of the Gods' dominion, the King's dominion, the house owner's dominion, the householder's dominion, the religious man's dominion. This is the whole duty. Thus I say. 7 regulations regarding a place to stay. Sutra 284. A bhikshu or bhikshuni should live at places like dharmashala, taking permission according to the said procedure. He should not indulge in any unpleasant or objectionable activity. Also, he should avoid earlier mentioned place-related faults with regard to interaction with householders and their sons at the place of stay. The ascetic should accept a place of stay, observing the following pratimas. First pratima, properly considering the conditions of dharmashala and other places of stay, I shall stay there in the particular area for the particular period allowed by the owner. This is the first pratima. Second pratima, I will stay in the upashraya, begging by the ascetics who have resolved to beg for place of stay for other ascetics. This is the second pratima. Third pratima, I will beg for a place of stay for other ascetics, but not stay at places begged by other ascetics. This is the third pratima. Fourth pratima, some ascetic resolves that he will not beg for place of stay for other ascetics, but will stay at places begged by other ascetics. This is the fourth pratima. Fifth pratima, some ascetic resolves that he will beg for a place of stay only for himself, but not for other 2, 3, 4 or 5 ascetics. This is the fifth pratima. Sixth pratima, some ascetics resolve that he will accept for sitting a bed or mattress, for example, ikkad or paral or other such hay, if there is some already available at the place of stay he has begged for. If that is not available, he will spend the night sitting in uttakatuk or nishidhya posture. This is the sixth pratima. Seventh pratima, some ascetic resolves that he will accept for use a rock, block of wood or a bed made of paral or other such hay already spread at the place of stay he has taken permission to stay. If that is not available, he will spend the night sitting in utkataku or nishadhya posture. This is the seventh pratima. An ascetic who takes any one of these 7 pratimas should not say, I am a resolute observer of conduct, others are lax. Renouncing pride and conceit, he should live with equanimity. Other details should be taken as those in Pindadaishanya chapter. According to the commentators Churni and Vritti, these 7 pratimas are related to first pratima is common to all Sambhogic ascetics. Second pratima is observed by Sambhogic ascetic within the particular group Gacha or higher level of Asambhogic ascetics. Third pratima is observed by Acharyas and ascetics living with them for study. Fourth pratima is observed by ascetics living within the group but preparing to be Jinakalpi. Fifth, sixth and seventh pratimas are exclusively observed by Jinakalpi ascetics or those who are strictly adhering to all pratimas. Acharya Sri Atmaramji writes that these classifications have been mentioned by the commentator. The original text of the Agama has no mention of these. Generally speaking, every ascetic can accept resolutions according to his capability or strength. 5 types of places to stay. Shutra 285. O long-lived disciple, I have heard that Bhagavan has said in this discourse of the Jinna, the Stavir Bhagavans have 5 types of places of stay. Devendra Avagraha, Raja Avagraha, Grihapati Avagraha, Sagarika Avagraha and Sadharmik Avagraha. This is the totality of conduct for that bhikshu or bhikshuni, and so should I pursue carefully. So I say, this aphorism states 5 types of places of stay with reference to donors. Devendra Avagraha, the ascetics moving around in southern India where there was no one to give permission to stay in jungles or other such places, an ascetic would seek permission from Shaudharmendra, the king of the first abode of gods. This tradition continues even today when taking hay or sitting somewhere. Raja king at one time meant a Chakravarti or an emperor. To seek permission from the manager or guardian of a place is Grihapati-avagraha. To seek permission from the owner of the house is Sagarika-avagraha. And Sadharmika-avagraha means to seek permission for stay or taking a thing from ascetics who are already staying at a place. Thus, an ascetic should not take anything anywhere without permission. This is the code for ascetics as told by great sages. End of the 7th lecture called Regulations of Possessions.
यदक्षरपदभ्रष्टं मात्राहीनं च यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देव महावीर नमोऽस्तुते।